Good morning, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Tuesday morning, May 17th. We are looking at Window Trader's market profile of SPY IWMN triple Qs. And as you can see, the market's attempting to blow out of a daily balance and try to take a weekly high to put the weekly into a pretty sizable weekly balance. Now, not too long ago, it looked like they were going to be able to do that. Again, there's 75 minutes to go prior to the open, so a lot can happen. Home Depot earnings were good. Walmart earnings were poor. Right now we have over 1 million on the tape pre-market. Looks like we're going to get a gap. Again, people will be screaming gap rules apply. Obviously for me, the bigger the gap, the more I'll watch it. Now, the bigger question is, are we going to be able to open above last week's high? Okay, our overnight high right now is 407.90, which would have put us $1.50 above that weekly high. But right now we're at 406. We're right below it. Overnight low is 399. Above that weekly high of 406.41, we don't have anything until 411.08, which was 10 wide for May 6th, and then 414.80 daily high. So again, there's a lot of price vacuums above and below. But first and foremost, we have to take out that weekly high. Look, we've been talking about this after we put in that low on Thursday. The first step was to take out a daily high. We did that. Next step for buyers is to take out a weekly high. If they do that, I thought there was a good chance it would be a very large balance, but it would be a 3-week balance of 429.66 down to 385.15. So again, that's a $44 balance. I think there'd be very good odds to stay inside of that until the next Fed meeting. A lot of Fed heads talking today, including Powell at 2 p.m. He's really the only one that I really care about. But again, they're all going to spew stuff. As far as the game plan this morning, well, again, yesterday's high was 403.97. So right now, again, there's a lot of time, but the gap is almost $2. If the gap becomes $1 or less, I'll look to take a long play against the gap. If the gap fills, I get out and reassess. We had a 9-wide point of control that was going to be an upside destination. It's now a downside destination. If the gap fails, is one thing, but if we get acceptance back into yesterday's range and basically below F's high and back into value, well, then you're going to go trade at that POC. That's for sure. On the flip side, if we're able to either hold the gap or fill the gap and then come back and take out that weekly high, again, there's not much above that. We'll see how much more we can grind. So again, you can take, if we open below the weekly high, you can take a short play against it, even though you're going to have a gap and higher value. Maybe the first time you take a put play against it. But I wouldn't stay in it because above that, there's nothing to the overnight high, which is $1.50 higher. So that's one put play. On the flip side, again, the long play, if it pulls back enough against the gap, and or if the gap fills but they don't get anything else out of it, and that's all they wanted to do, when you start going back up, you could take a long and see if we finally get the weekly high. And then quickly, on the chart, so here's where some change is taking place, possibly. Monthly's down, but here's the weekly. If you take out last week's high, again, some people will call it a 2-week balance. Depending on how much we get into the week of the second, I'll call it a 3-week balance. I think, and again, that high is 429.66. I think there'd be good odds of trading between that weekly high and last week's low until the Fed meets. But first and foremost, we need to take out last week's high. And if we take it out and come right back in, well, then maybe I would call it a 2-week balance, and then you have to see what happens if we start going the other way. And in the daily, we had a 4-day balance. We're attempting to break out of it in one time frame up 3 days, take out May 9th's weekly high, and get acceptance. Key word, acceptance above it. Now, if we take it out and come back in, I'm still going to call it daily up for now. It would be one time framing up 3 days, unless we were to come down, obviously, and take out yesterday's low also. But you would certainly like to see acceptance above the weekly high. And then, at some point, that 20-day moving average, like I said, is going to be coming down. Okay? Well, if it comes down, again, it's going to be between it's going to be lower than our 3-week balance high. So again, at some point, maybe they attempt to trade at it. Thanks for the likes and subscribing to the channel. Good luck trading today, and we'll recap at 4 p.m.